Hi, my name's Dee and welcome to Sunchild Tarot, and I have with me, as promised, astrologer David Fischer to look at this full moon. How are you doing, David?
I'm good. Thanks for having me again. How are you?
I'm good. I'm actually really excited about this full moon. If I know you've seen my introduction video to my full moon readings, I have to ask, are you as excited about this full moon as I am?
Well, I am in a way, but there are some levels to what you were saying. You know, you were looking at it through the positive side, no doubt. Yeah. And everything that you said, that was, I thought, fit perfectly to the looking at it through the good lens that you're going to need to overcome the situation. And that was fitting to everything. But there's just also some characteristics that you left out that I think that the astrology kind of fill in a few blanks about what might go a little wrong, because, you know, that happens. And maybe that could be of value as well to examine on the chart.
Well, before we get there, we get to the bad news, there's been quite a build-up towards this full moon. It's the first full moon after the eclipses, after this eclipse season. It is returning to that fated spectre of Capricorn that was causing us all that trouble last year. We've had Venus opposing Pluto, and shortly before that trining Neptune, Sun trining Neptune. So there's lots of themes about identity and value and what you are loving in life. And there's been some nice happy vibes that then probably got stomped on by that Venus opposing Pluto. It's been quite the build-up. We discussed the solstice chart, which I thought was superb. And I was hoping that this is carrying on that momentum of that, like the world opening back up again. And I think it is, but as you say, there's a few pitfalls in that.
Oh, yes. When we started all of this shit about the coronavirus and all of this world shutdown stuff that's been going on, all of that was still, like, all of the planets were still hanging out in Capricorn. All of the heavyweights are still hanging out in Capricorn, including the nodes in Capricorn and Cancer. We were still having the eclipses in those signs. But now we are having this lunation after a year in Cancer and Capricorn that has no eclipses in it, and we are actually able to evaluate more clearly our resources, what's available to us, what's not. Something that had been taken from us for the past 15 months or so. Now we are able to reestablish it in a way because we don't have that instability of the eclipses putting everything to waste. We have a prospect of everything getting better, even if that prospect is sometimes delayed, even if it's not as good as we expected at first. It's still a prospect of it getting better. We are already used to the situation in a way. Of course, everywhere is different. Here in Brazil, it's still not used to the situation, but people are handling it in their daily lives now much more than they were at the beginning. They didn't know how to behave, and now they do. And now
that review energy around for a while with that extra long Mercury retrograde as well, haven't we?
Yes, we've had that review energy with the Mercury retrograde. The thing is, in this build up to this full moon, we've had the new moon in Gemini with Mercury exactly at the heart of the sun. That was the solar eclipse in Gemini at 19 degrees. And this is for us to understand that we can see the facts and judge them more directly, more objectively. We need to be more assertive with the way we think about things. We have to give them more options. We realize that we can't be too over-focused on one single thing. So this cycle that we are in with the full moon right now in Capricorn, not having any eclipses, it started with Mercury being Cassini in a solar eclipse. So it was the moon, the sun, and Mercury, all three of them together, Mercury retrograde at the heart of the sun, obviously. So that was to make us see that we need a certain level of objectivity. We need a certain level of taking things at face value according to what we want to focus on. And it's been brought to our awareness that we need to focus on multiple things while still maintaining one single objective, one single goal, so we can reach a determined point, so we can reach a target. The thing about Mercury is that it destabilizes a narrative. It shows you so much information that you cannot decide which one to go with. But the thing about the sun is that it selects that kind of information. The sun in Gemini can have a lot of things going on at the same time in the background, multitasking type of energy. But that new moon with Mercury kind of give us the idea of, okay, maybe this is too much, especially now with the full moon in Capricorn showing us that. It's like the narrative is saying, okay, maybe there is such a thing as too much. Maybe there is such a thing as overdoing it, even though I have this goal, even though I need to get there. Things have to have their own pace. Things have to have their own time to grow, and things need the proper attention and care they deserve in order to achieve the level that we want them to achieve, whatever the houses pertaining to Cancer and Leo signify in your chart in Capricorn. Now, the moon in Capricorn, the full moon in Capricorn, is going to show you what has been going wrong, what has been jeopardizing, because the moon is an unstable planet. The moon changes form all of the time. The moon is not that she's unstable in a negative way. That's good at some points of your personality. That's a good trait that you need to survive, obviously, because the moon is quite important. It signifies your body and its capacity to sense a lot of things at once. And the sun is your capacity to focus on one thing, select one of those feelings that you're having stimulated all at once. You select one of them and you focus on it. And so the moon in Capricorn kind of tells you where you have been overdoing the over-focusing, perhaps, where you have been focusing too little, that you weren't paying as much attention because you weren't meant to pay attention to it in the first place. You were just trying to maintain something that didn't really have the spirit to it, that didn't really have sustenance to it in your intention, in your goals. And so the full moon in Capricorn kind of comes up and shows you to your face what can go wrong when you're shooting in every direction, basically. So you can stop, restructure, and focus on things that are more aligned to your purposes. And that's the Mars-Saturn dynamic as well that we can get into. Do you have anything to say about that?
Well, let's talk about that Mars opposition Saturn at the moment, because Mars is being ruled by the sun. So you said in the solstice show that we did that Mars is wanting to please the sun.
Yes.
Now we have that relationship with Saturn. So what's going on there?
So Saturn is very powerful being in its own sign. It would overpower Mars in this sense when you think about the power dynamics here. But Mars is direct and very fast, which means you are going to see, where Saturn is retrograde and still a little bit slow. It's going to take some time until Saturn kind of speeds up and opposes the sun. The sun is going to be in Leo by then. So it's going to take over a month. So at this point, Saturn is actually debilitated, even though it's in its own sign, in a way, because its signification is whatever Saturn signifies. So, I don't know, walls in the most basic sense of the word, castles, boundaries, and then you can philosophize on these basic words and apply them to your daily life. So look at your houses that contain Capricorn and Aquarius. to see what levels of your life are having these walls put up, are having these walls questioned, are having these boundaries put to the test, things that you need to let go of that are popping up. These is Saturn retrograde stuff. Now, with Mars being in Leo and wanting to please the sun being so fast and moving so fast and still being in its own light, Mars is still not under the beams of the sun, so it's still shining in the sky in its own light, which means it's still able to produce quite a lot of its own significations. Where Saturn is losing stuff or letting go of things right now because it's retrograde, Mars is actually trying to come up with things to sustain itself and to manifest its own energy through the lenses of the sun, which is in Cancer. So the sun is trying to balance the energy of the body, align the energy of the body to the energy that is needed to accomplish its goals, to accomplish whatever it's focusing on. At the same time, it gets a lot of noise from its environment because it's while it's trying to do that, it's noticing all of the flaws that its body has to reach its goals. We many times bulldoze through our feelings in order to achieve any particular goal, because we think, oh, sleeping is overrated. I can totally, skip sleeping tonight in order to study for that test, even though I've worked my ass off the whole day in order to achieve that particular goal of being rich. But that's going to be in 5 years from now. How much time, how many years do you think your body is going to be able to sustain that kind of rhythm? It's not really. So it's now up to us to realize in the areas where Cancer and Capricorn are falling in our charts, where we have been overdoing it, especially the Cancer house. And where Mars is opposing Saturn, that's where you will feel the most pressure to react, to actually overdo things. You're going to notice the thing that we are talking about, about the sun and the moon, the imbalance in the dynamic through the houses of Leo and Aquarius, because you're going to see that the house of Aquarius is trying to assert self-determination, assert what my limits and boundaries are, who am I really, and who you should be calling me as, who you should respect me as. And Mars is trying to assert it in a very masculine fashion, in a very, this bothers me, and that bothers me, and that bothers me, and that bothers me, but you can't do that. You're over-focusing on what bothers you because the sun is too troubled focusing on everything at once, and that jeopardizes your body. So you need to learn to put your body in a certain rhythm. And that's what Saturn in Aquarius retrograde right now is asking you to do. And it's going to impede Mars in a lot of ways to do its bit, and all the Martian significations that you're trying to put forward perhaps find themselves frustrated. But you shouldn't be put off by that. You should just look at what's really pulling you down and what's really tiring to you and what you haven't been able to sustain as happily as you would have expected for the past few weeks, and just let it go. Or create a rhythm around it that's more pleasing to you in a way, because that's going to be what's most beneficial for you right at this moment to take onward.
Well, on that note, I'm seeing that there is, I love my quintiles, and Mars has just come off of a quintile with Lilith. And it's also quintile the moon, or the moon is, it's also quintile the moon. So this whole, there's not just this awareness of what the problem is, there's an energy there to creatively solve that problem as well. And hopefully heal
definitely
at the same time. Sorry,
definitely.
By quintile Mars, sorry. But
definitely.
It's true.
No, I love that you can see that aspect of it through those particular modern perspectives, because that just validates the practice that you can mix two practices, for example, and they will point to the same thing when well applied and when examined through your intuition in a proper manner. And one thing that I want to say about what you just said that I know nothing about, so I'm not going to talk about it in terms of quintiles, but there is a signature present in the Hellenistic way of looking at it that validates that, is about the Venus-Jupiter dynamic with the luminaries during this full moon. Because you have the luminaries in aversion to both malefics. The moon does not see Mars and Saturn, but the moon does benefit from the views of Saturn because the moon is in a sign ruled by Saturn while Saturn is domiciled. So that's good for the moon, even though it's in detriment. Its lord is much better qualified, much better capable to give her, workable material, let's say, to reflect on and to provide a better understanding consciously of what's going on.
That's going back to that idea that Saturn is still hosting the moon, even if the moon is not aware of its presence.
Exactly. When the host is well positioned in the chart, regardless of seeing the house or not, the end result of a determined house containing a determined planet will be better than if it were in any other part of the chart. So you have the sun in aversion to Mars, but ruling Mars, so also being capable to establish some form of connection with that planet without receiving any of its malefic rays. So what we see here, besides the luminaries not being harmed by the malefics, we have the benefics actually giving the luminaries very good fertile energies to work with, because Jupiter is sextile to the moon and trine to the sun, which is great because Jupiter is domiciled right now, and the full moon is actually happening quite close to an exact trine and sextile to Jupiter. So it's very much involved in this full moon dynamic. You have Venus co-present still with the sun, and about to move into the sun's sign. So it kind of suggests that we are going to still see Venus playing out with this dynamic that's being initiated or that's being cleared up in this full moon. Venus is going to put our desires into a much more solar focus than they have been up until this point. We are going to be able to define much better our priorities after this full moon. And be able to let go of things that were not the focus, and thus desire that which is more objective in a way.
Yeah, you've just answered what I was about to say, because it's when you're saying that, I'm getting the image of us being called to have a look at our desires and see how much value they really have to us.
Yeah, that's a good Venus in Leo thought, and especially with Mars there, because you're really going to want to weed out everything that's not the image that you want to focus on. You will be very it's a very active energy. I can't emphasize enough how masculine the energy is going to be with these fire planets in the sky, especially being Venus and Mars. It has to do with what we do to validate the sun. So it's our perspective of how life should work, how things should go, and how we fit into that ideal mode, how we want to make ourselves alike, the image that we've created in our head, and how capable are we of it, and how much can we fight for it.
Now, I am absolutely, I hadn't noticed that symmetry between the luminaries and the malefics. Because it's literally like there's a symbol that comes into mind of a straight line, curve here, curve there. But there is that beautiful symmetry around. So that in and of itself is also hinting to me that bad things can come up for good purposes.
Well, and that's actually the feeling generally, because you have of all these planets, the only one that's domiciled here is Saturn. The moon is still in detriment, so it's still things that go wrong. Mars is still opposite to Saturn in a diurnal sign where it has no particular dignity, and actually is a little bit exacerbated in a kind of bad way, depending on where it is. So you wouldn't expect the things that are happening now to be light or to be completely encouraging or motivating, but you will have to have this self-determined quality of finding out, do I have what it takes? And if I don't, what do I have? And what is it enough for? You know, how much can I do in order to get where I've planned? I'm not giving up. It's not a giving up energy, but maybe letting go of things that are keeping you from having a more steady routine, so you can get there more proficiently. Yeah, do you get what? Do you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, I do. And before this show, I just finished filming my full moon readings, and for a lot of the signs, and unfortunately, there's one exception which I cannot remember, but for a lot of the signs, there are huge obstacles being put in people's way, and then also distractions from these obstacles. You know, don't deal with this obstacle, get involved in this fight instead. But the obstacles there are a blessing.
Yes. The more you focus your conscious attention on resolving Saturnian matters, so don't go to the shadow side of Saturn, which is ignoring what's uncomfortable. That's the shadow side of Saturn. Everything that you are looking at in your routine and that you're like, oh, I shouldn't look at this right now, I need to rest. Yes, you do need to rest, but is it your scheduled time for resting? Or are you just stopping in the middle of the day and postponing whatever you have to do because you're too afraid or because you're too insecure? Are you reveling in your own insecurities and trying to ignore what you're feeling right now that is uncomfortable by falling back into old habits, into things that are not really your focus, into nice new distractions that you found yourself enamored with? So really do the Saturnian work right now. Make an effort to be disciplined. You may have your time for comforting yourself, but make sure that you are also doing the work. Make sure that you have your everyday schedule organized in a way that you can focus on your main tasks and still have some time to rest. If you can, it's not going to be available for everyone, you know, because we need to survive, and society, unfortunately, has a lot of problems. But even if you do have one of those very difficult routines, then you do have to do your Saturn work even harder, because you will have to still separate sometimes during the day, some 15 minutes, some 10 minutes, where you can just breathe a little bit, come back to your body, remind yourself of something funny that you enjoy thinking about, look into the horizon, admire the beauty of something around you, breathe in some good smell, some good smelling flower, and then go back to whatever you were doing if you have such a harsh routine.
So on that basis, you are actually saying it's not just because in our recent lunations, when we've been discussing this, there's been this review, examine, decide. But here we've still got that process going on, because we're talking about discarding some of the things that we're doing. But there you've actually turned around and say there's also the get off your backside and start doing these things. And that's going to also help you go to the point of, yes, this is the right thing, or hang on a minute, this is useless. You know, let me go to another partner.
Yeah. And it's good that you mentioned that, because it's happening right at the beginning of these signs. So it's, the sun is in Mars terms, the moon is in Mercury terms in Capricorn. And so you have quite an unstable energy in the air. And this instability is to shake things up, so you learn to be more disciplined and focus on what you should. and I was going to go somewhere with it that I completely lost right now about what you were saying. What was the last thing? What was the last thing you said?
The get off your backside and do, and
Yeah, beginning
in
of cardinal signs. Yeah,
the
beginning of
act
cardinal signs. Just do it. That's basically it. Because in the mutable signs, we're able to philosophize about what's our goal, what do you really want, what are the things that really identify with our goals, our perspectives. Now, in the cardinal signs, do I have the energy to do it? Do I have the body to do it? Do I have the consensus to do it? Do I have the energy and the authority to do it? You see?
Yeah. Yeah. So you mentioned what was in Mercury's terms, the moon. So
Yes,
Mercury's
yes.
gone direct. So as wonderful as Mercury retrograde has been for reviewing, reassessing, and all of that, thank God it's over.
It's a very good point. It's a very good point.
So Mercury going direct is going to affect all of this stuff that we've been talking about. How?
Well, the significations of Mercury are going to start being all over the place in a bad way. Right now, Mercury's kind of saying, right, integrated new facet of life, new time that we're living in, and new things that I got to do. And these are the conclusions that I've got. So it's like Mercury's putting how do you say when you have paperwork to type when you're detailing something that happened to your supervisors? How do you call it? A report.
Yeah.
Mercury is kind of writing a report to the sun and the moon here. And since the full moon is shining a huge spotlight on everything that has been going wrong with mercurial things regarding the structural Capricorn larger perspective, you were talking about how Pluto has been in Capricorn for the past decade and a half. Yeah. And yes, Pluto, it has been showing us the flaws in the structures, the power dynamics that are really jeopardizing our ability to function in a structured way. Corruption has been a very big theme in the globalized society for the past decade and a half since Pluto ingressed in Capricorn with the crash, of the financial market in 2008. So since everything that's been happening in Capricorn right now in our personal lives, we have been going through this political mayhem, and now Mercury's kind of assuring us we can take things once more at face value, and here's why. Because now we see clearly where we hadn't been doing that. Now we see clearly where we have been focusing our attention that was not useful enough. With this Mercury retrograde, that was much clearer, especially with the Cazimi happening with the solar eclipse. That was the moment of lights off and lights on. That kind of shows which mercurial significations needed to be reworked with, and now we kind of made words for everything that was wrong, and we can see them clearly, reflect on them, and redirect the energy. This disseminating moon has all to be very productive and fertile, because it's going to be happening. It's going to be a disseminating moon happening with Jupiter domiciled in Pisces. So it's a very fertile time. Sorry?
Define disseminating.
Oh, that's the term for when the moon passes 45 degrees after the exact opposition to the sun.
Right.
And when it's, about a sign and a half after it, so about 20 degrees of Leo or so, it's going to be when the Aquarius. Around 20 degrees Aquarius. That's when the disseminating phase is going to start for this cycle in particular. But we are going to have the majority of this disseminating phase happening in Pisces, with the moon co-present with its ruler. So it's going to be a very fertile phase, especially because the full moon happened in sextile to that to that planet, to that Jupiter. So that's very nice part of the cycle here, very fertile part of the cycle, where I can really reap some very nice results.
So that also indicates from what you were saying there, where we are, and this backs up, I think, what I'm seeing from the Venus opposition Pluto, where you are able to, if you can now see where, take things at face value, as you say, and see where we haven't been taking things at face value before, there will be an opportunity to have things that are put in front of us that are not being presented at face value, and our ability to recognize, no, hang on a minute, that's a load of rubbish. And then
Exactly.
The Venus opposite Pluto, if you're getting carried away on a specific topic, Venus opposite Pluto is Pluto going, are you sure it means that much to you? Really?
Yes, that's very good. That's very good. Actually, that would be that Pluto enticing Venus to almost the point of giving up on whatever you want. But since Venus, that's happening by the end of Cancer, and Venus is very shortly ingressing into Leo, and the Sun is still to do this whole dance with Pluto, I do think that we are going to choose to keep going with some form of this desire, but we are going to lapidate it better. We are going to let go of these things that we were talking about before, and the Saturnian deciding to be more disciplined. We are going to decide to let go of the things that are not priorities. And then Venus ingressing into Leo after this opposition with Pluto is going to be much more determined and much more sure of what it is we are desiring and we are trying to make ourselves achieve in a way. So it's very good. It's very good. It's actually a very empowering aspect, in my opinion.
So to sum that up, the way I'm seeing it, and tell me if I'm getting it wrong, this full moon is saying, get on with it. Whatever your plan or plans are at the moment, as long as you're tending to your responsibilities, get on with them. And if in the process that you find that what you're doing has no value anymore, get on with the next plan, because we know you haven't got a shortage of them.
Yes, that's a very good way to summarize it as always. Yeah.
Right. Well, if that's the summary, right. Is there anything else you want to focus on with this moon?
No, I think we've said everything. Perhaps there's something to be said. I want to mention it very in passing. The fact that the nodes right now are visiting two royal stars, which are Aldebaran and Antares. Antares is at 10 degrees, 9 degrees Sagittarius, and Aldebaran is the opposite in Gemini. So these two royal stars, so-called royal stars, they represented angels that were quite important and that can be considered to announce great things, because angels, they announce things. They basically give very powerful omens of stuff. And these particular angels, they are very powerful. They are very prominent in the heavenly realms, and so they announce important things, prominent things like leadership, things that involve leadership, things that involve falling from grace, things that involve some kind of struggle that you have to do in the case of Antares to reach the truth of some kind of matter, the deepest of some kind of matter. Like the effort that you have to make to become a master of some craft or anything like that. Aldebaran, something similar, I would say, in a way, but not going to get into much into that. And maybe right now that also speaks to the anxiety that we are prone to have on reaching our goals and reaching our far-ending goals, the far-reaching goals, actually. It's going to give us a hurry to get there. It's going to give us a voracity, is that the word? Hunger, a kind of a hunger for it.
Voraciousness.
Voraciousness, yes. And we would do well to balance that, keeping in mind that we are limited bodies and we cannot overwork ourselves in order to achieve any particular goal. Otherwise, when we get to the pinnacle of whatever we've worked on, that is only you will have stabilized yourself in a routine that is unbearable, and that is going to wear you off eventually. So it's better to achieve those long-term goals in a much more disciplined and paced manner, so you can know that you're working in the right direction. So yeah, learn how to balance those things, perhaps being aware of the nodes and their demonic, very compelling influence to achieve whatever you want.
Do you happen to remember which two angels those are? I mean, I'll go straight and look them up if you don't, but...
I don't think I remember, but I think one of them was Gabriel?
That would figure. Gabriel.
Or was it Michael? No, I think Aldebaran is Michael.
We'll have to look it up later.
Yeah, not really sure.
Yeah,
it was just a basic concepts around these points that I thought really were fitting to everything that we've mentioned about our goals and how we should pay attention to where we are overdoing our work.
So stop overdoing it, but get off your backside.
Yeah.
Not
focus
at all.
No, focus on what's the priority. Stop lying to yourself, basically.
And now for the less than sugar-coated version. No. So, in which case, I mean, that's it. That's the moon done now. That's it, everybody. Moon is cancelled.
Maybe we could say something about the signs that are going to be affected in this full moon as well, more prominently. Because obviously, for the...
I can't remember which one it was. I have to go back and have a look. But you know how I was saying everyone's getting obstacles? There was one sign that was told in particular, stuff the obstacles, aim for the star. Hubris right now is a good thing. Go for it. Aim for, just aim as big as you can. You're going to fall flat, but it doesn't matter because you're going to get so much in the process. That was what one of
Interesting.
And I think it was like Scorpio or Sag or that region of the zodiac somewhere around there. So who's going to pull the short straw on this one?
Okay, I'm going to talk about it in terms of modality, because that's the signs that are in hard aspects to whatever placement we are discussing. Those are going to get the most of the energy of whatever aspect we're talking about. Now, that's going to be clear while I go through it. So the first modality that I'm going to talk about is really the cardinal modality. And we haven't shared the screen, have we?
No, not once.
Yeah. But do you want to at this point? I mean,
yes,
we can pull it up
you
just so
have
people...
authority to do it. Let me just
I don't.
Aha, right, there you go. Try now.
All right. So here we are.
Oops.
This is the chart. Yeah, we forgot that there. Mercury stationary moment, folks. I'm sorry if you had to imagine all of that in your head up until this moment, but this is the chart of the full moon that we've been talking about.
Finally.
Yeah. And for the, might as well start with the mutable signs. For the mutable signs, as you can see, you have Jupiter domiciled in one of the angles, Mercury domiciled in the other. So you really have no problem with this energy, even though Jupiter is retrograde, everything is flowing as you have planned in a way, even though it's a bit shaky, a bit unstable. You kind of learned how to deal with this energy at this point, and you can just go for it. You know what to take at face value and what not to. You feel very determined at this point, perhaps. So just keep going with it. Nothing too bad to say about the mutables here. The ones that are getting more sugar for the situation, I would say, it are the cardinal signs. Because the cardinal signs, they have this full moon with benefics, like all the luminary, all the light and all the fertility of the earth and water signs with Jupiter trine and Venus co-present. You get all of this fertile energy averse from the malefics. And the malefics are still in workable houses for you, houses that are conductive to business, for those of you who know how to understand these terms, because they are houses that are more energetic, being succeedant than cadent houses. So you can work with the energy of the malefics while not having any of it in your angles, plus having the benefics helping you with whatever realization you come to at this full moon. Right? Sorry about that. So this is what I have to say to the cardinal signs. Good for you. And that's for people who have angles in the cardinal signs, or the luminaries, sun and moon. I went past the fixed signs. So here we are at the fixed signs. Now, fixed signs, you are getting more of the harshness of these aspects. You are being made aware of things that need to change that you didn't necessarily want it to change, and that you have been trying to put your foot down and say, no, I'm standing my ground. I'm not going to move. I'm not going to change these perspectives and these goals that I had since the beginning, just because of these things, just because of these factors that are coming up. And you are going to be the ones that have the most trouble, I suppose, with everything that we have been saying up until this point of realizing what's wrong and letting go of it. You really don't want to let go of it, but you must, and you probably already feel it. You probably already know it. So for you guys, this is going to be a little harsher and probably show up a little more in a more intimidating manner. But it's also more required of you to be courageous to do it and to face it, to face your fears in a way.
But if you do it now, that means you're not going to get knocked off your feet by that final perfected Saturn-Uranus square at the end of the year, doesn't it?
Very good. Very good. Yes, very good. That's it. Very good, Darren. I love that, because I hadn't thought of throwing Uranus into the mix. Yeah, you're right.
So just to name the people who will be suffering under this moon we're talking about: Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius. Yeah.
Yeah, those are going to be the ones getting the most harsh influences because of the malefics.
Sun or rising, that would be.
Yeah, sun, rising, or moon signs in the fixed quadruplicity. The mutable quadruplicity that we've talked about first is the Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. The cardinal is the Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn bunch. So these are the signs that you have to look for.
So good luck, fixed signs, but you can do it. And you can have that. This is that process of showing you what you can let go of.
Yeah. Basically. So yeah, that was all I had to say about it.
Right. So in which case, what projects have you got going on, David? Because I know you've got some. So go on.
Yeah, I'm about to get my website going. I still have to edit a few things that I'm not quite satisfied about, but at this point, there's just like font size and a few green patches that I need to change color. Spoilers. But you'll be able to see the website probably up until next week. It will be up. I already have my YouTube page up. It's called In the First Place. Maybe Darren, if you could link.
I'll put a link down below.
Yeah. You can already subscribe to it. It would help, even though I still have no content there. Very shortly, I will be uploading things related to Hellenistic astrology and other types of topics related to astrology that you might be interested in. So you can check that out. I also have my Instagram account.
If you subscribe now and click that notifications bell, that means that YouTube should tell you when David releases his first video himself.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that, and very excited about the ideas that I'm having to populate that channel a little bit. So hope you guys enjoyed that as well.
So we can contact you via Instagram as well, In the First Place Astrology, yeah?
Yeah, the page is called In the First Place. You can also find me through my name, because you have the handle and you have your name on Instagram. My name is still David Fischer. You can find me through that name, and you can find me through In the First Place Astrology, which is the name of my pages officially, the new name that I'm coming up with. So yeah.
And obviously there is the link to the Facebook page for this channel down there. You can contact either me or David through that. I can always pass messages along, but he's told you how to do it directly. So in summary, I think you're maybe a little more hesitant about this full moon than what I was, or am. No, I'm still looking positive. I am. I am excited about this full moon.
You're a Cancer rising. What are you talking about? You're fine.
Oh yeah, for me it's great. You know.
Yeah.
What can I say? Sucks to be you. But no, I think this hopefully means that we can all use the energies for a personal upturn if we grab them with both hands. Nothing's going to be handed, not even us mutable signs, is it? It's not going to be handed to us on the plate. We've still got to do things.
Yeah, no, the mutable signs, they have it kind of easier because they're able to access their tools more, like the mental tools more easily, but it's not going to be that easy. Still got a lot of effort to do.
So in conclusion, good luck, folks.
Yeah.
I mean that in a good way. Good luck. Enjoy whatever you are doing. Do what you planned to do and enjoy doing it. And if you discover it has no value, then go on to the thing that you do enjoy doing, and that will be where you will make the progress. So thank you very much, David, and thank you very much to viewers. Don't forget, hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed already, you are more than welcome. And also the link to David's channel will be down in the description. And if I forget, it will be up about an hour later in the description. Yeah, go and visit David's channel, get subscribed already. Have a great full moon, people, and we will both see you together again at the new moon, I'm assuming, or have we got anything big before then?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, eclipses are over, thank God. I think that's it.
Yeah, I've enjoyed them, but I am glad they've gone. So,
yeah.
cheers, everybody. Best of luck, and we'll see you later.